Hey, what's up, guys? Brian Ellwood here. Welcome back to 12 Houses to Freedom. So, guys, today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to play and recording from an insider coaching call I did with our group called the Freedom Artists. So we work together twice a week, every single week, kind of in a small group, and I coached them on a really powerful lesson to change their life and to help them move towards living that lifestyle they really want to live. And in this lesson, I teach a 4-step framework that I use to take what's in my head and make it a reality. A proven process that I've used year after year to constantly move the needle, keep improving, get things done, actually hit my goals, actually know what to do when I wake up and sit down to go to work every single day. So this episode is going to be a little bit longer in more detail, but I promise you guys are going to get a ton of value from it. The group absolutely loved it. So here's the episode. So here's the situation. You want to create passive income so that you no longer have to trade time for dollars and you can actually spend each day doing what you love. You know real estate investing can do this for you, but there are a lot of different strategies and most of them just end up creating another job for yourself. So, what is the fastest and simplest path to financial freedom? The one that guarantees you will reach your goal and get to live the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brian Ellwood, and welcome to the 12 Houses to Freedom podcast. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing today? We are back for another coaching call. You guys are doing great. I've got a good lesson for you today. Just getting my stuff set up here. Got a powerful lesson for you guys today because there's so much confusion around what to do every single day, right? Like you wake up and drink some coffee, sit down, check your email, read the news, get on Facebook, read a book, go outside, eat something, drink some more coffee, right? Get back on Facebook. Before you know it, it's 11 in the morning and you've got nothing done, right? And I start to get kind of frazzled and anxious, or at least I do. And that's actually like the work day. It's actually the work day of most people, okay? Especially entrepreneurs working from home. People that work at a job, it's, probably pretty similar, but a lot of your work is controlled by what your boss wants you to do. But if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, you're trying to be an investor, there's a lot of self-discipline that really goes into making that happen, okay? I have really bad shiny object syndrome, okay? I'm one of the worst about this. I always have been. I remember first getting into being an entrepreneur, and I would wake up and I remember I would read all the promotional emails I got from like all the investors like Joe McCall or Sean Terry. And, I would literally save their emails in a folder and then read them in the morning and listen to all the podcasts and check my email some more and drink a bunch of coffee and then go read some blog posts. And, I really had no idea what to do to make my life better, to make it look the way I wanted it to look. Okay. I really had no idea what to do when I first got started as an entrepreneur and I first got started in real estate. And most of my days, I sort of just paced around, checking email a lot, checking social media, listening to tons of podcasts, doing a little bit of work, but not really seeing a lot of difference. Really, I didn't really see. It wasn't like I got to the end of the day and I was like, man, I crushed it today. Like I made notable progress towards my goals. That rarely happened, honestly, for years. I'm still just figuring out how to have consistent, highly productive days where you're doing the right activities, okay? And what I'm going to teach you guys today is sort of the cure for that. Now, this is the same exact process that I go through with my one-on-one coaching students. Okay. So if you were to hire me, pay me a bunch of money to coach you, and we were to talk every week or two for like an hour, we would basically walk through the process that I'm going to share with you on this call in detail, every single step, and leave you with a framework. Okay. There's 4 pieces to this, a framework that you can always follow if you get lost. So if you have a vision for your life and you know what you want your life to look like and where you're trying to go, what we're going over is the process to take that vision and make it actually exist in your life, which is what everyone wants, right? And real estate investing is a part of a lot of people's visions, right? Because it provides financial independence, wealth, passive income, all those things, right? So real estate, your real estate endeavors perfectly fit into what we're about to go over, okay? So you need to have this framework in your life at all times, okay? It's like a self-organization process so that everything that you want that's in your head and you're thinking about it, actually becomes real, okay? It took me many, many years of trial and error and hiring a bunch of really expensive coaches and reading tons of books and going to tons of seminars, having tons of different conversations with people to figure out the framework that I now follow that really works for me as somebody who has really bad shiny object syndrome. And I have a tendency to get real excited about new things and lose interest in the things I'm doing. And I'm always devouring new material. I'm still that way. I'm still obsessively learning almost every single day. Okay. And because I'm so hungry to learn, it feeds my shiny object syndrome, right? And I'm always like learning about these new cool marketing techniques. And I'm like, oh crap, I want to do that now. But I realize I can't do most things that I learn about now. And I have to put them into this 4-step framework that we're going to go over. And then I'll get to it if I get to it. Make sense? Okay. So let's start to dive into exactly what this is, and appreciate you guys. A few of you guys I see are on here. Thank you for watching. Post your questions down below. These calls are about usually either personal development, mindset, or the actual tactics for investing. But you can ask any question about any topic in the comments. I usually tackle all the questions towards the end of the call. So type your questions. And if you relate to what we're talking about, definitely share your story in the comments. It's very helpful for other people to hear that you're struggling with something too. And I can help you more when you open up to me. Sound good? So you guys have heard me talk about this concept of your perfect day a lot, right? I mean, I've probably talked about it so much that you're getting tired of it. But there's a reason for that, okay? There's a reason why I harp on this perfect day concept over and over and over again, is because it is the foundation for everything that you do, okay? So the first step of this framework is your perfect day. And you guys might think, I've already got this written down, Brian. What's next? I've already done this. Bear with me here for a second, because even when I work with clients one-on-one, a lot of the time it takes several iterations for them to really nail this perfect day and to get it right so that it can actually be of use and it can steer them in the right direction. Okay. And the concept of using your perfect day, or some people teach like your perfect week. I just got a book called, it's not here, Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. And he's a big time thought leader in this same space. And he uses the concept of the perfect week, very similar to what I teach, because it works, guys. Okay. The reason why we start with a day is because we don't want to start with these arbitrary goals like I want to make $1 million, or I want to be a real estate investor, because those things don't tell you at all what your day-to-day lifestyle is going to look like when you get there. And I often use the example of somebody wanting to be, let's say, an attorney, right? It's a sexy, powerful job title and can make you lots of money. You can drive a Beamer and make six figures and sue people and get respect and all that stuff, right? Like, seems kind of cool. But what does the day-to-day lifestyle of an attorney actually look like? Well, they are sitting in an office, they're dealing with a lot of paperwork, they're dealing with a lot of meetings, and they're spending a lot of time in courtrooms, okay? Now, for most people, those things do not sound enjoyable at all, right? Yet they don't really think about that when they decide to go be an attorney. They don't really think about what the day-to-day lifestyle of an attorney involves, okay? You as an entrepreneur, you get to sort of craft your own, you get to paint your own future. You get to craft this yourself, and you need to start with lifestyle. Don't worry about what your title is. Like, that doesn't even matter. That has nothing to do with this. We're all cruising towards a certain life, okay? And so having that as your North Star is your best possible chance of you actually ending up where you're trying to go, okay? Ask me how I know. I've tried so many different things where I just looked at something on the surface level, like I'm going to be a wholesaler, and then I went and did it, and I really succeeded at it, but I did not enjoy the day-to-day lifestyle at all. It wasn't what I wanted, right? So I wasted years driving in the wrong direction, had to turn around, right? And so figuring out where I really wanted to go, what the lifestyle looked like, was what finally cured that for me. And now I know I'm driving in the right direction, and I'm practically at the destination. It doesn't mean I'm not going to keep pushing and growing, but guys, like, that is what will change everything for you. Okay. So here are some tips to really writing down your perfect day correctly. Okay. The first thing you need to do, and if you've done this already, I want you to go back and look at yours and make sure you did this right, because everything's going to hinge upon this when we talk about the next steps. Okay. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you wrote it as if money was no object. Okay. So you aren't doing things for money. You're not trading time for dollars anymore. You can pretend that you have, 100 rental properties or $1 million in the bank or $10 million in the bank or whatever you need to pretend, so that you could finally, like, okay, Brian, all right, if that was the case, I would quit my job and I would, whatever, spend 4 hours in the afternoon coaching, the youth or whatever it is for you, right? But money can't be a motivator in your perfect day, all right? Because you've already made however much money you're going to need to live this life, okay? You're deciding what one day looks like, okay? So a lot of people will rush this and be like, well, I would just spend time with family, and so I have to be like, slow down, slow down. What would you do right when you woke up? What would you do after that? What would you do kind of late morning? What would you do for lunchtime? What about early afternoon? What would you do in the late afternoon, evening, before bed? Well, how would you feel during that day? Who would you be around, right? What types of things would you be doing? Where do you live in this perfect day? What city are you located in? What kind of house are you in? Roughly how much does that house cost? Okay. And then the biggest one is, like, what are you doing with your time for work, right? It's not work for money, but most people still want to have something to get up and work on. Okay. Half the people I talk to realize that, and the other half think they want to sit in a hammock all day or play guitar on the beach and drink cocktails. But I got news for you. That gets old. Go take a 2-week vacation to the beach and drink every day on the beach. You'll be tired of it. You'll be tired of watching Netflix and doing nothing every day. And you know what I mean? I promise you, and you might really think that you wouldn't because you're sick of your job or whatever right now, but that gets old, and you're going to want to contribute in some way. You're going to want to have a purpose, okay? Even if you don't think you want to do something, just remember that having a purpose has been linked to living a long, healthy life over almost any other indicator, like what you eat or if you exercise. Like, having a reason to live is actually keeps you younger, and you live longer, because it's so important. Like, it's literally one of the foundations for survival. as a human species, right? So you really want to make sure you understand kind of like what your purpose is. So a lot of people will say, I want to wake up early. I want to, have a slow breakfast with my family. Then I want to go on a run. Then I want to come back and I want to read some books. And then I go to lunch with my family. And then, and then the afternoon, I'm gonna work on my businesses. And I'm like, slow down. What do those businesses look like? What are you doing? Right? And a lot of people haven't really dug into that. Okay. So you might have to figure out, what are your passions? Okay. I could do a whole nother session on that, but a quick rundown of how you discover what you're passionate about is like, what type of books do you love to read? What kinds of things can you just not stop talking about? You're obsessed with all the time. What kind of things do you like go for coffee or beer with a friend and you're just talking to them about it and their eyes are glazing over, but you're geeking out? Okay, that's something you're passionate about. Things that you love to learn, right? Things you're really excited to learn. Things that give you energy versus take away your energy and make you feel drained. Those are the things that you're passionate about, okay? And I strongly recommend that once you figure out what those are, you have a section of your perfect day where you're doing those things. Like for me, it's definitely teaching, educating, okay? Literally what we're doing right now was always lived in my perfect day from like probably 3 years ago when I first like really started focusing it on it every day and trying to make it a reality, right? It was like I was going to spend 3 or 4 hours a day teaching, educating, creating content, helping other people live a better life. That was always a fixture on my perfect day. Okay. I just love teaching. Like literally, I remember like a kid would ask a question in the classroom when I was in high school, and the teacher would start to answer it. I'd be like, I want to answer it, right? Like I wanted to be the teacher, you know, like an older lady that came up to me in the gym a couple weeks ago and asked me how to work the lat pull down machine. I was like, here we go. I'll give you all the tips, right? Like I'm obsessed with teaching. I just like it, and I realized like I had to do that for a career. I was going to run all my friends and family off if I tried to teach them because they didn't ask me to. So I had to go and like put a message out there that certain people like yourselves would actually say, yeah, that's something I'd like to learn, right? And so it was a good fit for me because it was one of my passions. And so I really recommend you figure out what that is for you. The really interesting part, guys, is that most of what you are really passionate about and what you would do anyways, like if money was no object, is actually something you can monetize. Okay. So it's actually something that you can use to make some money, right? To pay for your perfect day. So if your perfect day, and that's the next part, the last part really is to figure out how much does your perfect day cost. Okay. So you paint this picture of your perfect life and you need to attach a dollar figure to it. And that's your income goal. Okay. If the dollar figure was 70 grand, which by the way, a lot of people's perfect days cost way less than they realize. Okay. That's a really important tip. Like I've talked to so many people about this in individual conversations and groups. Only a couple people have told me that they want to buy Lamborghinis and, and have like vacation houses in a bunch of different countries. Most people just say they want to spend time with family and work out and like do what they love. And they don't realize that that's not that hard to pay for. Okay. But it's how you pay for it that matters. If you have to go work a job you hate and then use that paycheck to pay for it, your life's miserable. If you use money from rental properties and money from your passion business to pay for it, your life is awesome because you're doing the things that you would have done anyways, like if you already had all the money in the bank. Does that make sense? Okay. So if your perfect day, like I was getting at, is like 70 grand a year, you could have like 10 rental properties paying for half of that. And then the other half, could come from like a very part-time business that earned 30 grand a year or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's really easy to earn that much as an entrepreneur selling services or products. It wouldn't take you but maybe a year, to get that rolling or less, just depending on how well you were at getting started and getting clear on who your customer is and what you were selling them and solving their problem. It's not hard. Okay. And so that's like the thing that I realized when I got to the end of the road and I was living and I was like, cause what I did is I went ahead and got like enough rentals to pay for the whole thing. And then I was like, yeah, now I can do what I want. Now I can teach and I can educate people. And I was like, crap, I could have started teaching and educating years ago, and I could have used that to like pay for some of my bills, and I wouldn't have had to buy rentals for all of them. And I could have gotten out of the rat race of trading time for dollars even earlier. And I think about how much more momentum I would have if I had started years ago, educate as an educator, writing books, podcasts, instead of just like I've only been doing it a little over a year, right? So that's kind of what I realized at the end of the road. And I wish I would have gotten more clear on like what I would love to do when I got there and then started it right away. Okay. Cause that, like, you've got passive income and then you've got basically passion income. Okay. And those two together can pay your bills really quick. Like doing it with rentals only actually takes longer. It's easier to start a business that makes, 30 grand a year than it is to buy enough rentals to make 30 grand a year. Okay. The rentals will make you wealthier and it's obviously completely passive almost. But if the business is based around your passions, and if you're going to do it anyways, once you start living that perfect day because you love it, then that's not trading time for dollars. Okay. Makes sense. Really important concept to understand, because if you do, you can get to where you're trying to go way, way faster. Okay. So I want you guys to revisit your perfect days with everything that I've gone over here. And I want you to attach a dollar figure to it. And then I want you to, just state how the perfect day is being funded. How are you paying for it? Okay. Like you might actually say, this lifestyle cost me $70,000 and I, pay for it with, I have 8 rental properties, and then I have a business that I work 10 hours a week on from my laptop at the coffee shop, helping other people do this or whatever. And that makes another 30 grand a year. And then you can then that's your target. Okay. Because all your actions, which we're going to talk about next, stem from where you're trying to go. Okay. Really, really important to grasp this. I promise you guys are either going to learn this lesson now or kind of down the road when you get there. And the earlier you learn it, the easier it is for you. And it's pretty amazing how easy it is to fund what someone actually would, someone's perfect day with some investment income and a business doing what you love. That's really the ultimate combination. And a lot of people will get hung up on the fact, well, Brian, I have a 6-figure salary. I'm not going to leave that. I'm like, you can easily earn that back as an entrepreneur and an investor relatively quickly, right? But the 6-figure salary you have now provides you with no freedom. Would you be willing to go down to, living a little more meager for a year or two, but having total freedom and working part-time and hanging out with your family and then from that place you build a higher income. Okay. I talk to my wife about this all the time. I'm like, we have the perfect setup, right? We both get to do what we love. We have passive income paying our bills. We have freedom to spend time with each other, to go on trips, to hang out with friends. I'm like, we need to make sure to protect this, right? And never let this lifestyle be sacrificed by spending too much money, right? Like the neighborhood that we really want to buy a house in. I mean, the houses are like 800,000 or more, right? And I'm honestly not comfortable buying a house that's that expensive right now, because it's not important enough for me to sort of put my neck out there and commit to a huge down payment and a huge mortgage payment every month that could potentially sacrifice the freedom that we have to do what we love and spend time with each other, right? We're about to start having kids, and I want to be there to raise the kids and watch them grow up here at the house, right? So like, that's way more important to me than being like, oh, that $800,000 house. Like, it can wait. I'll buy that when I can very comfortably afford it because I'm protecting this lifestyle that I've built. Okay, so it's really, really important to understand. Make sense? Cool. So I think you guys understand your perfect day. I really encourage you to copy paste it in the group so we can see it, share it. If someone asks you what your perfect day is, you should be able to recite that thing from memory. I can recite mine from memory easy. Okay, and you guys should be able to do that too. The next step, when you have your perfect day written down, okay, and that is like the thing you're always pointing towards, is to set goals, okay? Now, you've heard this so many times, but do you have the goals written out, okay? And if you don't, then one of these pieces, I promise, is going to be the thing for you to click. You're like, that's where I'm lacking, okay? Because I'm going to get to what you do on a day-to-day basis by the end of this, okay? But if when I talk about goals, if there's some kind of weird resistance that comes up within you, because this is how I used to feel too, it's like, goals, that seems like a lot, complicated, just, I don't know, commitment, right? Like, if that feels sticky or kind of icky, like there's resistance to setting goals, then that's actually what you need to work on to have a breakthrough, okay? So pay attention to the signs. I'll be like watching training material sometimes on how to, do all this stuff better. And the part comes where they're trying to make me do the hard work. And like, I'll literally find myself like checking out and like looking down at my phone or playing with the dogs. And I'm subconsciously like ignoring the stuff that I don't want to hear because it's painful. And I don't, you know what I mean? And I don't want to like do that part. Like, oh man, you mean I have to make my goals? I have to have KPIs? Oh, like, that seems, that's like math. Nah, right? Not me. That's not what I do. I'm Brian the visionary, right? So pay attention to where you resist when you're being taught. When you resist and tighten up or you kind of tune out, that's actually the area that you need the most work on in your business or your framework or whatever it is. Make sense? Okay. So because I'm like that, I think I've come up with a very simple approach to goals, okay, that maybe you could adopt and it wouldn't be so constricting and tie you down and all that. So whenever I like first started studying goal setting and hiring coaches, they'd be like, all right, Brian, what are your, you got to have a 10-year plan, and then you got to have a 5-year plan. You got to have a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan. Then you got to have quarterly goals for every quarter of the year. And then you have monthly goals. Then you have weekly goals, and it all links together. And I was just like, okay, if that's really true, I might just go get a job because that sounds miserable. Like to have to like just shuffle all these pieces. I think that's absolute overkill. Okay. And the structure that I use works for me well. And it's way simpler than that. Okay. So for goals, all I do is use 1-year goals. That's it. 1 year. Okay. The reason I chose 1 year is because I was like, I can't do 10 years. That's too far away. Things could change. My desires, my things are going to change. 5 years, that's way too far ahead. I can't think about it. Same with 3 years. But 1 year away, like I'm comfortable, like enough, like with that. Even that, like I'm still kind of like, what if I go to a seminar and I learn about this cool thing and I want to change the goal? Like I'm still a little bit resistant to like committing to something for 1 year. Okay. If you guys are familiar with Enneagram, it's like a thing that, you're either like an Enneagram type 3 or a 5 or a 7, and I'm a 7. And 7s are like the visionary, all over the place types. They have trouble with commitment and all that stuff. Okay. So, and if you're like that, trust me, this works, and it's kind of a solution, it's a compromise. Okay. So I just do 1 year goals. I say, all right, it's, it's December of like when it was December of 2018. I sat down and I was like, what do I really want to accomplish in 2019? Okay, just for the next year. Okay, so 12 months out. So what I would do to set my 1 year goals is it's like, well, how do you know what goals to set? Well, aren't the goals supposed to lead you towards something? Hint, hint, lead you towards living your perfect day, right? Okay. So that's the cool thing about the perfect day concept is it's kind of like fixed, like your North Star. It's like a vivid painting on the wall that doesn't really change a whole lot. And you always get to look at it and you're like, that I'm trying to make that a reality. Okay. I'm trying to make that a reality, that lifestyle, what goals would need to happen in the next year to make that lifestyle real in my life. Okay. Yes, your perfect day will change over time. You're going to want different things for your lifestyle. And that's when you would just update that. Okay. So there are some pieces that you're going to have to keep up with, but you don't have to keep up with the freaking 10-year and a 5-year and a 3-year. It's just your perfect day. And then each year you sit down before that year starts. But if you haven't done it now, it doesn't matter. You can just do I recommend just doing a plan for May through December of 2019. So however many months that is, right? It's 8 months, right? Yeah, 8-month plan, your 8-month goals. And then when you got to December of 2019, go ahead and do 12 months and get back on track with me and everyone else that does 12 months, like the calendar, right? Okay. So, look at your perfect day and say, what goals do I need to get myself there? Okay. What are some goals? And you don't want to have too many goals. Okay. This is another way to keep this simple. You don't want to have too many goals. Too many goals is bad. Okay. And if you don't achieve all or most of your goals, you are going to give yourself all kinds of self-criticism, negative internal feedback. And guess what? You might stop doing this altogether. You might stop even trying this goals thing because it doesn't work for you, right? That's actually like one of the reasons I used to resist it a lot is because it didn't work for me. Because I would be like, well, all right, my goal is to do $100 million. And I would just set these really stupid goals. And of course, I never hit it. And then I was just like, well, man, I don't need goals. Like, it didn't do anything for me. It was just stupid, right? So goals are meant to be achieved, right? You actually want to set like these tiny little like flag posts, like, along the way and keep hitting them. And you get to pat yourself on the back. You get to cheers, and like celebrate. And that actually gives you momentum, gives you motivation to keep setting goals and to keep going. Like think about losing weight or something like that. Isn't losing 5 pounds, doesn't that just seem like something you would be way more likely to try and do than to lose like 50 pounds, right? Like that's just, it's too much, right? And smaller, more realistic goals are better. So you guys have heard of the SMART goal format, right? SMART, SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay, it's a little bit of a redundant acronym. It really they just need to be specific. Okay, so you can't say like I'm gonna buy some rental properties. It has to be like a very specific number. I'm gonna buy 3 rental properties, right? It has to be measurable. Okay, like something that you could actually measure. Basically, you need to know for sure when you got to the end of the year if the goal was done or not done. Okay? It can't be vague at all. A means it has to be achievable, okay? Which is the same thing as the R, which is realistic. Okay? Set realistic, achievable goals. It can be a little bit of a stretch, but don't go much past that. And the T is for time bound. Okay? It needs to be bound by a deadline. Deadlines are crucial in everything you do. We're going to talk about more about those in this next part, okay? But deadlines are super important, okay? So you need to have goals. Like I have specific goals for how many properties I want to buy, how many coaching students I want to sign, like how much like what I want to do in terms of like growing our audiences and social media and writing a book and all those things, like very concretely spelled out for this year. Okay. You can also put things like personal goals into this. Okay. If you want to mix those together, that's fine with me. You probably, once you get to the next levels of what we're going to talk about, keep them separate. But personal goals are obviously a real thing as well. Like my perfect day, for example, involves spending more time with my wife than I do now. So my goals for this year to make the perfect day a reality, remember again, the goals are to like do a regular date night. We're going to go on a yoga retreat. We're going to go on a trip internationally together. We're going to like learn, take cooking classes together, right? So the goals, my personal goals for this year are linked to living the perfect day, which is spending more time being even closer with my wife and my friends and all that. Makes sense? Okay. So you got your perfect day and you wrote your goals. Maybe you have, 10 goals or less for the year, personal and professional. Okay. I think that's probably a safe number. Any more than 10, you're probably stretching. And once you get done with the goals, I recommend you go back and you really laminate that with reality. Okay. Is this really achievable? If it's not, like cut it down to 7 or 8. I promise you, if you do 7 goals to completion versus you do 10 of them and they're all like 60% of the way there, you'll have a way better year. If you do the 7, you'll actually be more successful, more productive, make more money, have more happiness. You'll be more likely to stick to this ongoing. Okay. This process I'm teaching you guys is what I want you to go out and use. Like if you never had a coach and you never learned another thing, this is what will work for you. And you can teach other people this one day too. So remember that. You guys, I haven't like copyrighted this or anything, so you guys are free to use this to teach it to other people as soon as you grasp it for yourself. Okay. So the second part is goals. And once you have your goals written down, and remember, they're not like super convoluted. Like a goal could just be one sentence. Okay. It doesn't have to be like in heavy detail. Okay. That is because the next piece after you set goals, your goals is to do projects. Okay. Now, remember, I told you that I'm a visionary and I'm an Enneagram 7 and I'm all over the place and all that. I didn't say that, this would be super easy, right? There are a few things you have to have. This is like the bare minimum approach, the 80-20 approach to making your vision a reality without overcomplicating things, okay? All right? So you do have to have projects, okay? Now, what I do, I should probably write monthly projects. Let's go ahead and just make that super clear about what that is. Monthly projects, okay? Now, the monthly projects are how the goals become a reality, okay? So, for example, if you had a goal to like start a podcast in 2019, right? Then when January rolled around, the first month of 2019, it might make sense to complete a project that is linked to starting a podcast, right? And so a project would be like decide on podcast name. And then there'd be another project for, get podcast logo created, right? Or, develop the process from the time you record an episode to creating the show notes to publishing to sharing it on social media, right? So create that process. Those will be 3 separate projects. It's not smart to bundle them all together. And so this is like where the rubber meets the road, right? A lot of people will have goals, right? Like they have goals. They're not linked to their perfect day, but they got some goals. You could ask like anyone what are your goals? And they would just like tell you things like, well, I want to do this thing. I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to write a book one day. I want to go on, I want to visit 100 countries, right? And that's literally where they're stuck. They've just got these random goals that are not really linked with arriving at a lifestyle, but they've never also broken it down past the stage of it just being a goal. Okay. And so that's where projects come in. Okay. So, like, a project would say something like, if it was getting back to the podcast thing, right? And you're going to get it would be like project number one, podcast logo perfection. I give my projects silly names just to, like, make it fun. Podcast logo perfection, right? And then you list out all the objectives that would make that project be completed. Okay. So it might say something like research logos that I like, and pick a top 10, decide on a color scheme, find 3 different freelancers that I could possibly hire to design my logo for me, and then get them the name and some design ideas, set a budget, right? Like, there's all these little things. Like, decide what formats I need the logo in, right? Because you're going to need it for iTunes and websites. You're going to need different sizes created. And that's like where you actually get down into the nitty gritty. And you're just like, okay, what are all the things that would need to happen for this logo to be done and be completed? That is a project, the podcast logo project or whatever, right? You might put that in the month of January of 2019, okay? And so and then you might fill it up with 3, 4, 5 other projects. That all is dependent upon your personal bandwidth, okay? If you're already, like, at home all day and you're an entrepreneur and you're just trying to, use this to get organized, you could probably have 6 to 8 projects every month, possibly, depending on how organized your schedule is, which we're going to talk about. But if you're, like, working and you're just kind of doing things in the evenings or on weekends, 1 or 2 projects a month is probably enough. Okay. So you definitely set the amount of projects that you schedule per month based upon your bandwidth. So the projects, they need to be realistic, which is why your goals need to be realistic, which is why they need to be SMART goals. Okay. But just to, like, recap, and if you guys have any questions, if you're not following me, please ask. The perfect day is like the vivid, vision for your life. Like a vision, people say, what's your vision? Do you have a vision for your business? Vision? Like, the perfect day and the vision are the same thing, basically. Okay. Once you know where you're trying to go with your lifestyle, every year you set a handful of goals that are going to make nice big strides, but realistic strides towards living that lifestyle, towards living your perfect day. Okay. Then your goals kind of become like the focal point each month as you set the projects that you're going to complete that month. Okay. So, perfect day, you're fun, you're getting to, pie in the sky, like, you're getting to think high level and be excited. When you're setting goals, you're getting to think high level, be excited. Even when you start to do projects, it's more like, all right, well, if I really want to, if one of my goals is to buy a rental this year, I haven't even picked my market yet. So one of my monthly projects has got to be pick my market. So it would be like project number 2, pick your market, or market mastery, give it some stupid name, right? Make it fun. Under that, it would be like read Brian's best market report. Join 5 different Facebook groups of the 5 different markets I'm considering. Look at least 3 deals per market. Like, analyze the economy of my top 5, analyze the population size and the growth, and right? So you're getting to the point of actually having to do some work here, okay? This is why it works and why you get stuff done when you follow this framework, okay? So the monthly projects, those are actually like what I spend a lot of my time on. Okay. Projects are, have you ever heard that you're supposed to work on your business, not in your business? I'm sure you guys have heard that, right? Projects are basically what working on your business is. Okay, working in your business is doing the repeated tasks that are necessary to keep the business going. Now, a lot of times your projects will actually spin off a repeated task. If a project is to launch a podcast, then there's obviously going to be a repeated task of recording episodes that happens over and over after that. Okay, so that's part of mastering your schedule, which we're going to talk about next. But I lost my train of thought. But like, you should try. You should aim to spend probably 50% of your time each week on projects. Okay, projects that are going to really grow your business. Right, you're working on the business, not in the business. All the repeated tasks that happen in your business that need to happen, they're not a project, they're just like a repeated thing, or the things that the projects spin off. Those are the things you try to delegate and automate as much as possible. Okay, so you can work on projects. Like, really successful entrepreneurs are spending a lot of their time working on their businesses, right? So like Brendan Burchard, a guy who you know that I like because I posted about him and talked about him and stuff. I go to his events. I'm actually part of his small mastermind group. He said that he spends 60% of his week on projects that are like really going to move the needle. And one of the big ones is writing and creating material like video courses and things like that, right? So you think about it, like the guy, it doesn't make sense. It's like he runs multiple 8-figure businesses, right? And he's all over the place. He's always speaking. How does he have like 5 New York Times best-selling books, and he's like putting out a new video every day and a new blog post and a new podcast and like a new email, and he's just like, he seems like he's just crushing life, right? It's because he's spending 60% of his time like hidden away, like working on the next book. Okay, a book would be a project that's working on the business, because then you create an asset that helps the business, and then you can use that as a huge thing to boost the marketing of the business and all that. Makes sense? Okay, so like with real estate investing, working on the business, like picking your market, finding those private money lenders, building those relationships with your wholesalers and your property managers and your contractors and your project managers. Those are all like on the business stuff that are actually going to build something. And then there's going to be some repeated tasks that get spun off of that, right? Like, you're still going to have to look at deals, make offers, and talk to your property managers and things like that every week. But those are just like, that should only occupy like 40% of your time. The other 60% is growing the business, working on the business. So the irony is that working on your business, it not only does more for the business, not only grows the business more, but it's actually way more fun than the repeated tasks. But for some reason, a lot of people sit down and they just see the repeated tasks and they just sort of like get mesmerized by their emails and their phone calls and all that stuff. And they're like, well, those big projects, they're a lot of work, so I'll put those off and do them later. But the big projects are actually what does give you the most freedom in your life, okay? Because those improve your businesses, and the businesses are designed to give you freedom. So when the business thrives, the owner thrives, okay? So you want to do the things that really move the business down the road, okay? So that's kind of what projects are. So recap once again. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But this is how I operate, okay? I know what my perfect day is. I know what my goals for the year are. I need to be more specific here. 1 year goals, right? 1 year goals. And then I know what are the monthly projects each month that are going to lead me to achieving my goals for the year, okay? So what do I do when the month is over? Well, around the last week of every month, I'm already creating the plan. We call it our monthly plan. Okay, so it's like the March plan, the April plan. I'll be making the May plan probably a couple weeks from now, once April's almost over, right? And then I just keep doing it over and over again. And I'm in the projects. And here's an important point, guys, because a lot of you might say, well, like, I know what my perfect day is. I can set 1 year goals, Brian, but how do I know like what projects are going to actually lead me to achieving my goals, right? Like how do you pick your projects, right? And honestly, there's not like a crystal clear answer. People act like they know, they're so certain. But the thing is that your projects, the things that you choose to do to hit your goals, are basically your best guess at what's going to get you there based upon what you know and what resources you have right now. Okay. You can ask a coach like me. You can read books. You can go to masterminds and seminars. And I recommend you do all those things, because if you learn from someone who's already done the thing you're trying to do, that is the fastest path to do a thing. And that's basically because they're telling you what those projects would be, right? They're saying, oh, no, don't waste time with those things. You can do these things, right? I've always historically paid tons of money for strategy advice, right? I've paid lots of money to go and rub shoulders with people who were like way further along. Like when I first got into real estate, I was regularly hanging out with guys who had 100, 200 rental properties, just crushing it. And that like dramatically improved my mindset and just told me what I needed to do to start buying houses, right? And it was mind blowing, and it changed my life. Okay, so you have to like find someone who's done the thing it is you're trying to do, and you ask them, if these are my goals, like what's the first thing I need to do, second thing, third thing, kind of line up the dominoes for me, man, right? Like that's what you guys have me for real estate and making your perfect day a reality, right? That's kind of what I specialize in. So, but still, like for me, starting this education business, like I didn't know anything about social media marketing or email marketing or webinars or courses. Like I didn't know any of that stuff. So like my projects, like a lot of them, like were bad ideas. Like I still didn't pick the right things. I mean, they weren't like, it wasn't like they were a total waste, but I was kind of zigzagging around trying to like reach I didn't really know what are like the few tasks that are actually going to get me where I'm trying to go. Okay. So don't beat yourself up endlessly if a month goes by where you set some projects for yourself that are, and then you do them and you're like, damn, that didn't really make much of a difference towards my goals. It happens all the time. Okay. But you get better each month, and every month is a fresh month. And I get excited when new months come because I'm like, yes, I get to create the plan for May, and I'm going to delegate some stuff to my team, and they're going to do some projects. That's another thing, is that these projects are not just for you to do. If you have a team, if you have an assistant, make at least one project per month for them. Preferably the thing that you think they would be good at, or the thing that you really don't want to do. Like delegate that to a team member, and then they have a project. Now you're getting more projects done that are linked towards your goals, and you're not doing them all yourself. Okay. Really, really important. So you have your perfect day. You have your 1 year goals written down. Every single month, you're using like a rolling monthly plan, okay, with the projects. And you're going to carve out time to work on those and just sort of go through line by line by line, like every little piece that's going to complete that project. Okay. You guys have any questions about this so far? If you haven't done this before, you kind of just need to dive in and try it, and like share what you've got with me in the Facebook group. And I can look at your stuff and be like, hey, here's what you need to do. Because there's little nuances that, you might screw up, and it might make it confusing. Okay. I usually, when I walk through this with a one-on-one client, there's some back and forth, and then they nail the system. And then it's kind of weird because I'm like, don't fire me. Do you still need me anymore? Right. Because it really works. Okay. So I think I've probably harped on the projects part enough. If you guys have any questions, let me know. The last part is your schedule. Okay. schedule. It's actually your weekly schedule. Okay? Weekly schedule. Perfect day, yearly goals, monthly projects, weekly schedule. You guys remember when we started out this call and I said, who sits down and they're like, all right, what do I got to do today? Right? Like, how many of you sit down or you wake up and drink coffee and then all of a sudden you're in your emails and then you're on Facebook and then it's 11:30 in the morning and you haven't gotten anything done, right? You don't feel productive. You just feel frazzled and kind of lost in the weeds, right? Anybody feel like that? Okay. Still happens to me sometimes too. Not perfect. But if that's you, if that has been you, okay, think about this. I want you to think about this. So you sit down to execute the things that, you're going to do for the week, right? Things that are supposed to be on your weekly schedule, okay? But you're having trouble with that and you're frazzled and you don't really know what to do, okay? If you don't have any monthly projects to draw from, to put onto your weekly schedule, and if you don't have any goals for the year that you can create projects, monthly projects out of, and if you don't know where you're trying to go with your life so that you can actually set meaningful goals that'll get you there, how in the hell could you ever expect yourself to know what to do during each week, during every day? Okay, this is like weekly schedule or daily schedule, whatever. It's like, now. How in the hell, how could you have known what to do? No wonder you're lost. No wonder you're confused. No wonder you're have shiny object syndrome and you're starting and stopping all these different things and you're on social media and in email too much and getting distracted and not feeling like you're making progress. Progress towards what? Right? If you don't have this framework in place, then your weekly schedule is meaningless. Not really, that's the wrong word, but it's not getting you towards any place. And you don't know what to do. You don't know what you're trying to achieve. You don't know where you're trying to go. That's actually where most people are at. Okay. And it's not to beat you up. Most people are there. I was there for many, many years. This system was the only thing that got me out of that. Okay. That was the only thing that kind of cleared the fog. Okay. You need something that you're kind of tethered to every single day. All right. So I'm going to go over weekly schedule, but I want you guys to remember that when you get lost, okay, I want you to print this out or write this down on a sticky note, keep it on your desk. When you sit down to start your day and you're confused about what to do, all you have to do is figure out where your missing link is. I'll go over that again in the end because I need to go over weekly schedule. Okay, I'm going out of order here. So weekly schedule is a bit more vague than these other concepts. Okay, this comes down to mastering your day. Okay, and making sure that you carve out time to work on projects. Okay, what I do, and I've talked about this before, is I pick no more than 3 big tasks to do each day. I call them MITs. Okay, MIT stands for most important tasks. Okay, that are going to move the needle. Now, when I pick my MITs, sometimes they are a repetitive task. Sometimes they are something from one of my monthly projects. I use a checklist for all my repetitive tasks. Here it is. So I actually print out a checklist of all the things that I need to do each week. All right. And so when I'm doing my big three for the day, it might be 2 things off the checklist and 1 thing off the monthly project, or 2 things off the monthly project, 1 thing off the repeated task checklist. Does that make sense? Okay. But you have to master your week and your day, or none of this works, right? So you can't like get lost in the little stuff every single day, because what's going to happen? You'll reach the month end and you will not have gotten your projects done. And you're also probably not going to be getting your repeated tasks done. You're like, well, yeah, I didn't make any offers. I didn't call any private money lenders, but I got to inbox 0. I cleared out all those promotional emails, right? So like that, but that doesn't matter. It like doesn't help you at all. Okay. So you can see why this number 4 is a bit more vague for me. It's a bit more vague for me to explain crystal clear, but it's basically about making sure that you know what repeated tasks you need to do on a regular basis that are really going to make a difference in your business, and then what projects, and then scheduling time for projects. Okay. So you have to develop discipline at this stage. Your goal, remember, we're working off monthly projects. Your goal is to get to the end of each month and all the projects got done, and also all the repeated tasks got done in your business that you were responsible for. Okay. So it might be helpful to write down every single task that you're responsible for that you need to do on one big master list, so that it's somewhere. You can make a dorky checklist like me. I'm still using paper, like I probably need to make this digital, but I just take a picture of that. I upload it to Slack every Friday so my team can see it and they can be like, okay, Brian did his stuff. He's contributing his part. I have them do the same thing so I can see that they're doing their parts. All the repeated tasks. This is not project work, because project work changes. This is the fixed tasks. Okay. When I used to work at Smoothie King in college, every night we had to fill out a checklist. It was like, rinse out the blenders, mop the floor, count the register, turn the lights off, set the alarm. There was like 20 different things. And we had to do it every single shift and initial it. Okay. And it was the repeated tasks. Now that business is a successful franchise that has been duplicated thousands of times over. There's a reason why they use checklists, okay? Because they work and they keep things organized. And if the checklist doesn't get filled out and initialed by the person, it's very clear where the breakdown happened, who dropped the ball, whose fault it was, what system needs to be improved, or whatever, okay? So I really recommend you guys get really good at this, okay? Get really good at owning your day and you need a self-organization system to get all your repeated tasks done and you're probably, depending on how many projects you set, which again, comes down to your bandwidth, but you're probably going to need at least 2 hours a week to work on projects, maybe more if you think you can do more projects per month, okay? So another really helpful thing that worked for me when it comes down to mastering my weekly schedule is organizing the days into a theme, basically. Okay. So here's what I mean by that. If I am coaching you guys, this takes a higher level of energy, right? To be here and engaged and coach you guys. And then I'm on the phone with my team and I'm talking to my team and I'm, making offers on houses and I'm doing like one-on-one coaching or whatever. That's all like extroverted, like outgoing type of energy. Okay. So I actually stack all of those activities on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay. There's a reason why, right? The calls are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? For this group. There's a reason for that. Those are my extrovert, like output days. Okay. Mondays and Wednesdays, I reserve for the type of energy that goes into creation. Okay. So I don't book calls with anybody on Monday or Wednesday. If you email me and you want to do a call or something, I'm not going to do it on Monday or Wednesday. Okay. And I recommend you protect your time just as fiercely as I'm protecting mine. Okay. So you organize what you're trying to get done based upon the nature of the task itself. There's been a lot of studies that have shown that task switching is very inefficient. Like, I'm gonna write this thing. Oh, here, phone call. Let me get online. Let me go do this thing. Let me print this thing out. Now I got to go run an errand. Now I'm gonna get back and work on the writing more. That's terrible. Like that does not work. Okay, you won't get anything done. And they've proven that multitasking is not even real. It doesn't really exist. You're task switching is what you're doing when you're trying to multitask. You can't really do two things at once. You can go to the gym and listen to a podcast at the same time, but you're doing both with like not full effort. And you can't, there's certain things you literally can't do at the same time. You're switching between two things, back and forth, back and forth. It's not good for focus. It's been shown to actually decrease productivity and the quality of your output a lot. Okay. So the more you can organize like tasks, things that are similar, into all in one day and spend like a whole day doing that, the better. Okay. So if you could spend like 8 hours on Monday, just like researching and learning and creating and in like a quiet environment. And then Tuesday you come out of your shell and you're like, bam, 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 I'm making all the calls. I'm getting back to everybody. And then Wednesday you can kind of go back into your shell. Like for me, that has worked the best. Okay. And I have Friday as currently like a flex day. I want it to be an introvert day, but I'm just not there yet. Okay. It's not realistic for me yet. So I really recommend that you theme your days out based upon the type of tasks at hand. But you need basically some kind of weekly routine, right? Some kind of consistent routine that allows you to get all your repeated tasks done and time for your projects, okay? And that is the 4-step process to making your vision a reality. And if you guys are ever lost or confused, this is what you come back to, okay? You sit down and you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. Well, are you clear on where you're trying to go? No, I didn't really do that part yet. Well, that's by far the biggest problem, right? Because that is the first step. Oh, you do have that? So what are your goals for this year? Oh, well, I didn't really set, specific goals. Boom. That's why you're lost, okay? And then if you have those, what are your projects for this month? This month we're in right now, or the next month if it's coming up soon. I don't know. That's your thing, right? If your answer is then you don't have it, and it's okay. No judgment here, right? We're all here to grow and get better. But that's what you would need to do. Okay? If you got projects, but you're still waking up and drowning in email and social media and you're like spinning your wheels, then you need to organize your week and your schedule better. Taking back control over your life and your time is the first step to getting out of overwhelm. Okay? Like you got to slow down and take back control. If you feel stressed out and anxious and you're tired, and you feel like you're way behind your goals and your work, the first step is not to work harder and try to get ahead. It's not it. The first step is to actually take some time away. Go get a good night's sleep. Like go work out, meditate, right? Get clear on what you want. Come back to your work in a positive, high energy state, and you will do so much better. And you might look at all the shit that you were stressed out about and be like, dude, 70% of this doesn't even have anything to do with my goals, or I could just cut this all out. Sometimes like when I get stressed, I'll just go for a walk for like an hour. I usually come up with an answer to my problem on the walk that's gonna like, that's way easier than what I was gonna do, which was just like try to grind my way out of it. I come up with a better, higher level solution. Okay. So you have to, it's so counterintuitive, guys, but like grinding and all that is not what successful people do. It's sold online to be sexy. And yeah, I hustle 24/7. It doesn't work. I don't do it. I did it a little bit in the beginning and it didn't work. I just was frazzled all the time. I got a lot better results once I worked less and worked smarter, right? And so that's the framework, guys. Let me know if you have any questions before I hop off. Sorry, I'm going to mute this. That's the framework I use, guys. And I really recommend you, I'm just going to look at the comments here. I really recommend that you give this a shot. And you've got me for when you get confused on any part of it, because there will be questions, right? But you've got me for when you execute this, and this is what makes the magic happen. Jeff says, I think my biggest mistake is that I need to rework my perfect day. I'm super excited to get there. What happens is I lost my motivation to work on my projects. I started searching for more information that got me nowhere. That is a huge realization, Jeff, because your perfect day, like if it's not authentic to you and if it's not what you really want, you'll basically self-sabotage. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'll do, Jeff. There's a really good exercise. I'm just going to make a note for myself here. There's a really good exercise that helped me figure out sort of what themes need to be in my life for me to be excited and happy and engaged. And it's an exercise in discovering your core values, basically. And I know what mine are, like my pillars, basically. And I realized that everything I do has to involve those. It was kind of like business and entrepreneurship, personal development, family, and like having fun and goofing off and being myself and recreational type activities. And I had to make sure that everything I was trending towards had those kinds of things in it, because that's kind of what lights me up and excites me. So really good observation there. Rework your perfect day. Feel it. Make sure that it's like authentic to you. Okay. Your perfect day is not an exercise to impress other people. Okay. It's what you really want deep down in your belly, in your heart. Okay. Don't think about it, like feel it. And that's how you'll get the correct perfect day where you're really trying to go. Okay. All right, guys, I have to go. Tonight is puppy training class. We got a new puppy and we have 7 straight weeks of 2-hour trainings on Tuesday nights. So wish me luck. I'm off, but I'm here for you guys. Post your questions. Do this process. I promise you it will change your life. You'll have an organization system for everything moving forward for the rest of your life to make what you think into a reality. I will see you guys on Thursday for the one-on-one call. Peace.
Want more? Download my free course, Fearless Financing, at fearlessfinancing.com. In this free course, you'll learn exactly how you can get the money to buy your next rental property, even if you have no cash, no credit, and no experience.